One of our first events that came early on in the pandemic was our Feet, Fins, and Flippers 5K. And it was scheduled for the third weekend in May here on the canal. And it was our 10th year anniversary. So we were really just starting to publicize it, opening up our registration when the pandemic hit and the closure hit. And we just basically sat on it for a month and tried to figure out what the heck to do. Now it seems silly because everything is virtual, but this was at a time when, what is a virtual race? A couple weeks ahead of time, really, we started publicizing the race, and the response was amazing. It was just so inspiring and affirming and humbling to see that people really jumped on this race as something that they could do. And it turned out this was our most successful race ever. We had over 300 participants. Participants came from 25 states and 4 countries. And we raised almost twice the amount of money. We raised over $20,000 on this race. And it was so affirming and just really, really wonderful to see that kind of support.
In late March, we had the first person who was showing a symptom go for a test, and we had developed a containment policy where we have 4 houses here, and if somebody went for a test, then we were going to tell that person to quarantine to their bedroom and everybody to quarantine to the house to ensure that it wasn't going to spread across our campus. We had to designate certain bathrooms for COVID positive or COVID waiting results, and those that had tested negative. We fought tooth and nail to get cluster testing here. And once we did, we realized that we had a number of cases, most of which were asymptomatic. But that created a situation where we actually, in our main building where we had 23 people living at the time, we had all 23 people quarantined to their bedrooms for a total of 24 days. And that presented a number of challenges, including traditionally we're not staffed nights and weekends. Our staff worked 7 days a week to hand deliver food, drinks, personal need items to the folks that were quarantined to their bedrooms. And that was really when everybody started talking about masks as a prevention tool. And so I put out a call on Facebook asking if anybody could help with masks. And you would not believe the response that we got. Within a couple days, I had at least 10 people volunteer their time, their services, and one person would produce 10 of them, and the next person would produce 15, and the next person would produce 20. And before I knew it, I had well over 200 masks for our 40 people. We had an abundance, and I knew that other organizations didn't necessarily have that good fortune. And so we shared them with the local shelter, St. Joseph's, and with a number of other organizations. But the outpouring of support from our community, it was absolutely tremendous and really heartwarming, and it reminded you about what makes the Cape so special, so unique, is the fabric of the community and how we all tend to look out for one another.
Another really wonderful way that our community came together during this time was parents who were able to pay still for their students to come to classes were calling up and saying, I know that there are other students in the class who can't pay, and I'd like to pay for them to be able to come. So they were providing scholarships. People were really reaching out in wonderful ways to help us stay relevant to our community.
So any organization that is in the throes of this and dealing with an unprecedented, unique situation, if you're dealing with humans, I encourage you to be human. If you have employees, I encourage you to think from their perspective. Some people have never met somebody that has contracted COVID. Other people have their loved ones that have battled with it. In some cases, they've lost loved ones. And so everybody has a unique perspective on what COVID means to them, to their families, and to their community. And I think that we should all just be mindful and compassionate of everybody's perspective at this time.